Ready. Don't talk about it.
You're ready. You're on.
I'm on. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning to you.
Buenos dias.
Hey. Happy New Year.
Today we're going to talk about material handling and preventing hand and wrist injuries. Now, before we begin, we recently had an accident. And is that person here? They had a hand injury? No. Okay. Well, let me begin by
20
saying,
years old,
how many, I want everybody here to raise their hand if they believe insurance companies like to pay money.
Say again?
I'm with Bob.
Mine does, but they always want it back.
That's right. Now, one of their little rules is if you don't report an injury the same day and you come back a day or later, they're going to say, maybe, we don't have to pay this because it happened away from work. It's important to preserve your claim so you're not paying the medical bills, to report all injuries the same day. Now, we had a situation in another company where there was a little cut. 3 days later, the guy was in the hospital because he got infected and eventually went into blood poisoning. So report your injuries. You never know what's going to happen. Like the guy, he was in the hospital for 5 days just because of a bad scratch. And the other issue is if you have scratched, minor injuries, get first aid. Don't allow a small scratch to become infected so you end up like this guy who was really sick. Now on to mechanical or material handling. The first thing I want to talk about is back injuries. Now, how many know how to use a back brace? You guys use back braces? Okay. The benefit of a back brace, it prevents your lower back from being injured. The problem with back braces is they weaken your muscles. So the first rule is you need to understand is that if you don't need a back brace, don't keep it on. The second thing is a back brace will not do you any good unless you have it really tight. The next thing we need to understand is just because you've got a back brace on doesn't mean you can't have a back injury. In fact, what happens typically is because when guys are wearing back braces, they get overconfident, they start using bad back mechanics to lift things, and the injury is on the upper back instead of the lower back. So it's important that when you are lifting using a back brace that you use good back mechanics. And we've talked about this. I just want to go over it again. First thing, keep your load close, right? Second thing we want to do is to keep our back straight and lift with our legs instead of our arms or our back muscles. The third thing is that we do not want to bend at the waist to lift things, because we're lifting not only the box we may be lifting, but also the top part of our body. So we need you, if you're using a back brace, to keep it very tight, use good back mechanics when lifting things so that your injury is not on the upper back instead of the lower back. Okay? That's where they got it clear on that. Now the second thing I want to talk about is that often, guys, there'll be two people handling material, right? It could be on a sling, or maybe you're lifting. One of the things that is essential to prevent accidents is that you need to communicate with the partner. In other words, how many of you've been moving and one guy, you're both taking a couch out the door, and one guy says, I got to drop it, and doesn't give you any warning. What happens to you? You usually get hurt. So it's important before you start to move something,